Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanatha Swami Niti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine. Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaurakatha Dhamadaya Nagara Grama Tarine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Namo Mahavadanyaya
Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvishene Namaha.
Hare Krishna. We welcome all of our YouTube live listeners, our listeners over Facebook Live, and our dear listeners over Zoom. We are so happy to be with all of you again after a 1 week break. But it seems as if we have been away from all of you for so long. But we are so happy to be here again with all of you. And we have brought for you in this grand new year 2021. First of all, wishing all of you a very, very auspicious, happy, blessed, Krishna conscious new year 2021. And here in this new year, we have brought all of you, for all of you, we have brought the gift of Sri Gauramrita, the nectar of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, so that when we listen to the Gauranga, Mahaprabhu's life, his glories, his pastimes, his attributes, his qualities, his nature, when we listen to all of that, that Lord Chaitanya, he would be so pleased with us that he would dance in our minds, in our hearts, like a madman. And he would, infuse all of us with pure Krishna prema, because it is only Lord Chaitanya who has brought, the treasure of pure love of God within for all of us. So seeking blessings of Srila Prabhupada, seeking blessings of our Guru Vargas, we humbly take all of your permission, and we also are so grateful to each and every one of you for joining us today. So we beg for all of your blessings so that we may be able to speak as we have heard about the glories of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu and share that with all of you, so that we may all just immerse ourselves in the nectar of Sri Gaurakatha, Sri Gauramrita.
So in this, today we will just discuss an introduction of how the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were started to be compiled. And we'll end with a brief introduction of a flow of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So our references are Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, and Sri Chaitanya Mangal by Lochan Das Thakur. And of course, the illustrious commentary and purports by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Can we have the slideshow, please? So these three primary literatures, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal, written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, then Chaitanya Bhagavat by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, Chaitanya Mangal by Lochan Das Thakur, They are not competing amongst each other. Can we have the slideshow, please? And in compiling this, they were very respectful to each other. In fact, if we see that Lochandas Thakur, he first wrote Chaitanya Mangal in 1520. Shri Gauramrita ki jai. Next slide, please. This is a picture of Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, beautiful, elegant, Supreme Personality of Godhead.
And it is said to be one of the original pictures of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu that we have. So this is, as they say, we are repeating that. This is supposed to be one of the original pictures of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu himself. Next slide, please.
So here, as we said, Sri Chaitanya Mangal was first written by Lochandas Thakur, then Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, and then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Next slide, please. These three are the references for Sri Gauramrita that we would be discussing. Next slide, please.
So Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is written by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. We will hear in detail about how Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami came to write Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in a little while. Next slide, please. So this is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. You know, he is being instructed by Lord Nithyananda. We will come to this pastime in a little while, but this is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who is the author of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Next slide, please. So Chaitanya Charitamrita was written in the year 1557 by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. This is Chaitanya Bhagavata, which is written by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. So Chaitanya Bhagavata is written by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Next slide, please. In mid 1540s is when Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, he wrote Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata. Next slide, please. And finally, this is the Chaitanya Mangala written by Srila Lochandas Thakur. Next slide, please. And Lochandas Thakur, he wrote this in the year 1520. So if you see, Chaitanya Mangala was actually written first. And then it was, Chaitanya Bhagavat. And then finally, Chaitanya Charitamrita was written. Next slide, please.
So Srila Lochandas Thakur in 1520, he wrote Chaitanya Mangal. As we know, he's on the top right. And then in mid 1540s, almost 25 years later, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, who is on the left-hand side, he wrote Chaitanya. He also wrote Chaitanya Mangal. When he wrote it, he named it Chaitanya Mangal. And devotees started getting confused because these were the only two references by mid 1540s about Lord Chaitanya's life. And both were named Chaitanya Mangal. So then devotees later named the treatise by Vrindavan Das Thakur as Chaitanya Bhagavat instead of Chaitanya Mangal. Because Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is considered to be an incarnation of Srila Vyasadeva. And therefore, they said Srila Vyasadeva wrote Srimad Bhagavata, and so Vrindavan Das Thakur, he wrote Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata. And then finally, in 1557, almost Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he left this world in 1534. And so almost you can see 23 years later, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita.
And these three authors, although they were in a span of, between 20 to 40 years, they never had a competitive attitude towards each other. Rather, the three books, we will see how, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was himself instructed by Lord Nithyananda Prabhu directly to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But these three authors never competed with each other. So Chaitanya Mangala, if we see, it is more in the form of a poem. That is because, Lochan Das Thakur is a very beautiful songwriter. He wrote beautiful bhajans glorifying Lord Nithyananda especially, and also Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mangal is more like in the form of a poem. And he has written, in Chaitanya Mangala, there are a lot of preludes to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, basically. What led to the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is what is stressed by Srila Lochan Das Thakur in his Chaitanya Mangala. Chaitanya Bhagavata, which is written by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, is actually glorifying more about the childhood activities in detail by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. That's what Vrindavan Das Thakur has stressed more in his Chaitanya Bhagavata. More likely the Navadvip pastimes are what is highlighted in the Chaitanya Bhagavata. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's the entire treatise. In fact, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Actually glorifying Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he says that these activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are so wonderful, they're so sweet. And when Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he describes them, then they become a shower of nectar. In order to describe them again by me in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it'll not only be just a repetition, but also it'll be like an arrogance on my part that how could I dare to write something on Lord Chaitanya when Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has already created this nectar. So therefore, he humbly begs in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the first canto, 5th chapter, that I have only described a synopsis of the events that are already described by Vrindavan Das Thakur in his Chaitanya Mangala. So here he refers to Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Mangala because both Lochan Das Thakur and Vrindavan Das Thakur wrote Chaitanya Mangala. Later, it was known as Chaitanya Bhagavat. So therefore, I'll do my best. I will do my best to describe only those incidents which Vrindavan Das Thakur did not develop in his outline. So Sri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami took interviews from so many different devotees, and he was divinely inspired as well. But he wrote only those events which are not there described by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur.
So we see the kind of beautiful respect that, these three authors have amongst each other. No competition. But, Chaitanya, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Adi Leela, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he writes that just as Vyasadeva compiled Lord Krishna's pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam, Thakur Vrindavan Das depicted Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in a similar way in his Chaitanya Mangala. And I offer millions of obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, who has delivered the entire universe through his book of Sri Chaitanya Mangala, which of course is today known as Chaitanya Bhagavad.
Next slide, please. So how did Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami come to write Chaitanya Charitamrita? This is one of the visions of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami on the right hand side and Nithyananda Prabhu giving him his darshan. In fact, one day, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he describes in Chaitanya Charitamrita itself, he had organized a 24-hour kirtan in his house. And in his house, he invited associates of Lord Nithyananda. Lord Nithyananda had left even at that time. And he invited Minaketana Ramdas, who is one of the associates of Lord Nithyananda. And Minaketana Ramdas was a great Vaishnava. He was constantly chanting the name of Nithyananda Prabhu and completely in divine ecstasy. He would sometimes, and is so ecstatic that in his ecstatic mood, he would hit people with his flute. He had a flute. And during kirtan, he would play nice flute. And then if someone was distracted, he would hit him. and sometimes slap them. Why are you not focusing on the holy names of Lord Nithyananda? Nita, and then he would cry. So in general, a lot of the guests of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, they became very astonished. Whoa, who's this Minaketana Ramdas? He is just hitting everyone with his flute if we are not attentive. And most of them understood that he's a great soul. He's so much absorbed in divine ecstasies of Lord Nityananda. So they came and they pay obeisances to him. But there was one devotee, Gunarnava Mishra. He was engaged in this festival of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's 24-hour Harinam. As a pujari, he was engaged. And he somehow did not demonstrate a respectful attitude. Because Gunarnava Mishra, this indicated on his part a neglect of respect to Nityananda Prabhu. He was very much attached to Lord Caitanya. He had a lot of faith in Lord Caitanya, Gunarnava Mishra, but not so much in Nityananda Prabhu. And so Vinaketana Ramdas, he was a fanatic devotee, very, very advanced devotee of Lord Nityananda. So he became angry and he criticized Gunarnava Mishra. He said, you are a second Romaharshana Sutta. Romaharshan Sutta did not come when Balaram came, he did not pay obeisances. Similarly, when Lord Nityananda is coming here in the form of his holy names, you are not showing respect to him. You are the second Romaharshana Sutta. And Gunarnava Mishra, he was very happy to be chastised by Minaketana Ramdas. And he just continued in the performance of the service of the deity. And then at the end of the festival, when Gunarnava Mishra left, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother also got into an argument with Minaketana Ramdas about what had happened. That why did you chastise Gunarnava Mishra? He is a pujari and he has so much faith in Lord Chaitanya. And Minaketana Ramdas says, yes, but how can you have faith in Lord Chaitanya when you're not having respectful attitude to Lord Nityananda? He said, well, he has respectful attitudes, just that he did not show the respect the way you are showing it. They started having all these different kinds of arguments. But between Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother and Minaketana Ramdas, transcendental arguments. Because now Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, brother, he had strong faith in Lord Chaitanya, but he lacked a similar faith in Lord Nityananda. Gunarnava Mishra, he had faith in both of them. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother, he lacked total faith in Lord Nityananda. So on hearing this, Minaketana Ramdas was very wounded. He became angry. He broke his flute and he left. And it is said that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother, because of this offense, he lost all devotional attitude. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami took the side of Lord Nityananda's associate, took the side of Minaketana Ramdas and rebuked his brothers. He said, these two brothers, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, they are like one body. They are equal in their spiritual manifestation. How can you not accept the divinity of Lord Nityananda? If you don't do that, you will fall down. To have faith in Lord Chaitanya, but disrespect to the other is like accepting half hen. Ardha kukuti nyai. One time there was a person, he had a hen, and he saw that from the mouth side of the hen, I have to feed the mouth. And then I get the egg from the back side of the hen. So what if I cut the hen in half so that the front side goes away? Then I don't have to feed the front side. I can just keep the back side and keep getting the eggs. But if we do that, we don't even have the hen. The hen dies and you never get anything. So this is accepting half the hen. Ardha kukuti nyai. So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said, better if you be an atheist that you deny divinity of both Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nithyananda, rather than believing in Lord Chaitanya but not in Lord Nithyananda. This is how Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami chastised, rebuked his own brother. Next slide, please. And Lord Nithyananda was very much pleased by this slight display, this display of attachment. Even if anyone shows a slight display of attachment to Lord Nithyananda, then Lord Nithyananda bestows all that they desire. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that because I took the side of Lord Nithyananda's associate Vinaketana Ramdas and chastised my brother, somehow I won the blessings of Lord Nithyananda himself. And that night, something amazing happened.
Lord Nithyananda Prabhu appeared in a dream and ordered Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to go to Sri Vrindavan Dham. And this is mentioned by Srila Krishnadas Goswami in the Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita itself. And Lord Nithyananda told him, "Oh Krishnadas, please have no fear. Go to Vrindavan, for there you will attain all things." And after saying this, he indicated the way to go to Vrindavan by waving his hand, and then he disappeared with his associates. So Lord Nithyananda had come with his associates. He spoke to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, told him to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita and go to Vrindavan and do this project of writing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So
now, if you see here, at this time, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was almost 90 years old. He was so old and he could hardly see. And he was thinking, Lord Nithyananda, you have instructed me to write Chaitanya Charitamrita, such a huge treatise. I can't even see properly. My hands cannot even write properly. How can I compile this treatise? I'm not qualified. I cannot do any justice to writing the glories of Lord Chaitanya. But Lord Nithyananda just blessed him and disappeared, did not say anything. And even though Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami considered himself completely unqualified, but he said, even though I'm unqualified, I will just depend completely on the mercy of Lord Nithyananda. If he has given me the instruction, he will give me the strength to write.
Thus, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he just compiled Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And how he compiled, he said, the humility of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is so great that in Chaitanya Charitamrita he says that I am more fallen, more sinful than Jagai and Madhai, and I'm lower than the worm in the stool. Whoever hears my name loses the results of his virtuous deeds, and whoever utters my name will commit a sin other than Lord Nithyananda. Could anyone in this world show mercy to one as abominable as me? Look at the humility of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He continues to say that Lord Nithyananda is an ocean of pure mercy. He is so intoxicated by ecstatic love that he does not discriminate between good and the bad. He delivers anyone who falls down before him. This is the characteristic of Lord Nithyananda. So merciful, so, forgiving, so compassionate that he is there to deliver the sinful people. As fallen, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying, as fallen as me. This is the humility of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Therefore, we see that in the beginning of every chapter, in the end of every chapter, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is begging at the lotus feet of all the associates of Lord Nithyananda, Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu, all the Goswamis, everyone, he is begging for their blessings so that he can glorify and follow the instructions given to him by Lord Nithyananda himself.
So this was the wonderful pastime of how Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami compiled this wonderful treatise in Bengali. There is a similar beautiful pastime, amazing pastime of how Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita then came to be translated in English by none other than His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, our very own Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Next slide, please. In June 1975, this was almost just 2 years before Srila Prabhupada was about to leave. Srila Prabhupada had written, translated Srimad Bhagavatam, translated Bhagavad-Gita, and now he wanted to translate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he translated one chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita and gave it to Rameshwar Maharaj at that time. And he said, please, you should print this. And he would, as he is using his dictaphone, he would write this, he would record it in his dictaphone and send it to the printers. They would then translate, they would then actually transcribe it, and then they would print it. So then they said that, next slide please, they proposed to Srila Prabhupada, Rameshwar Prabhu, at that time Rameshwar Maharaj, that I will print Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, I'll print 1 volume per month. Every month, I think BBT can very easily print 1 volume a month. And that was a huge deal. I mean, printing 1 book a month to any publisher, if you go and see, this is, it takes sometimes several months or years to print 1 volume. And he was thinking Prabhupada will be very happy. Oh, 1 volume a month, this is wonderful. This is all we want. But then Prabhupada said, 1 volume a month. I want you to print all the volumes in 2 months. This is 3 cantos, which is in almost about 12 volumes. He was proposing 1 volume a month, which itself is a huge accomplishment if they're able to do it. Prabhupada said, I don't have time. Because at that time, Prabhupada did not know how long he'll be here.
And at that time, Srila Prabhupada was also in between writing the Srimad Bhagavatam. He was translating and giving commentaries on the Srimad Bhagavatam as well. But Srila Prabhupada had written the Krishna book, which is the summary study of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the devotees were relishing that. The devotees were distributing that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, wildly. It was getting distributed. And then Srila Prabhupada wrote one small book, which is the teachings of Lord Caitanya. And that was the first time that the devotees were, having something concrete to read about Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So when Srila Prabhupada saw that the devotees are so eager to understand more about Lord Chaitanya, therefore Srila Prabhupada decided to then translate the Bengali work of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami of Chaitanya Charitamrita into English.
So then Rameshwar Maharaj was completely taken aback. What? 2 books, all the books in 2 months? And Prabhupada said, well, more than that, I'm challenging myself. Let's see who wins this challenge. Am I able to transcribe the books faster, or are you able to print the books faster? Let's see. And Srila Prabhupada went on a marathon. And at that time, Prabhupada came to Los Angeles. He offered his obeisances to the printing press. Next slide, please. Because Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur told Srila Prabhupada, whenever you have money, print books. And the printing press was the transcendental instrument that was used to glorify and fulfill the order of his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he came, he offered obeisances to the printing press. This shows how Prabhupada is teaching us by his own example, how we must be very conscientious of even some so-called non-living things. Anything that is used in the service of Krishna is transcendental, is glorious. So then all the devotees, Srila Prabhupada, he continued his work day and night. As we can see, he is burning the midnight oil to transcribe, to actually record, translating Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita from Bengali to English and giving his purports, Bhaktivedanta purports. And on the other side, Rameshwar Maharaj and everyone else, they had an emergency meeting at the press. They said, how are we going to do it? Prabhupada has said, and they had the similar faith. We are completely unqualified, just like Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami felt. But because Prabhupada has given this order, he will also give the strength. Just like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said, Lord Nithyananda has given the order and he will give the strength. So they got all the people from all over the movement, all over ISKCON. And they said, everyone, whoever are the best artists, whoever are the best, good, who have experience in printing from all over the world, they came to Los Angeles to start in this huge mammoth endeavor. And the artists, they were going crazy. They were whole night. Sri Rameshwar Maharaj, he actually explains how the artists were whole night, they were painting all these pictures that we see of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They are all divinely inspired by Srila Prabhupada to all of these devotees. They were hardly 5 years, 6 years in Krishna consciousness maximum. But they were actually painting so wonderfully. Average devotee in the printing press was sleeping 2 to 3 hours at the most. If anyone was sleeping more than 3 hours, he was considered to be in Maya, because we have to fulfill the order of Srila Prabhupada. As soon as one volume comes out, Srila Prabhupada gives the dictation of the second volume. And now, slowly, steadily, as they were focused on Srila Prabhupada's instruction, the impossible was becoming possible. Srila Prabhupada said, impossible is the word in a fool's dictionary. Impossible says, I am possible.
I apostrophe M. I'm possible.
So then these devotees from the press, they went to the San Francisco Rath Yatra. And the largest printer in America, he dropped everything to print Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. In fact, for 8 weeks, 2 months, Prabhupada had said, for 8 weeks, devotees gave up eating, gave up sleeping. They were on completely Brahma Bhuta platform. And they were just focused on one thing. All of these devotees just focused on fulfilling Srila Prabhupada's desire. Then the first 5 books, they started arriving from the printers.
And when they came, fresh, fresh off the press, Srila Prabhupada just opened the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Next slide, please. Sri Prabhupada just opened each Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you can see the pleasure in Srila Prabhupada's eyes, and Srila Prabhupada was showing the books to the devotees, and he said, this is the actual Bengali Rasgulla, Prabhupada said, that this is the real Bengali sweet. This is, for reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, devotees around the world will learn the Bengali language so that they can relish the words of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu.
And then it started becoming an assembly line. Srila Prabhupada would dictate Chaitanya Charitamrita purports and the translations, and then the devotees would immediately start transcribing. As soon as he would finish few pages, they would start transcribing. And the painters would then take inspiration. They would have to read it as well. They would explain to the painters what this context is, and they would start painting. And then all of the paintings and the transcription would go to the printer. And printer was also continuing to print at the same time. And as they were printing, immediately the transcribers and the painters would get the dictation from Srila Prabhupada. And devotees, they were like so ecstatic that they were speaking like madmen. They were in so much of ecstasy. And at the end of 8 weeks, this transcendental experience, Srila Rameshwar Maharaj, Rameshwar Prabhu says, we did not want to stop. And they told Srila Prabhupada at the end of 2 months. Srila Prabhupada, we just, all our lives, we just want to keep doing this. Just keep giving us these dictations. Why did this Chaitanya Charitamrita end in 2 months? This is a world record. 12 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which we consider as scripture. It came out in an impossible 2 months by the mercy of Nithyananda Prabhu to Srila Prabhupada, who is the spiritual master of the world, who is a representative of Lord Nithyananda, empowering all of the devotees, all of his disciples.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Next slide, please. So now let's understand, based on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, what is the flow of the nectar, based on the different, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is divided into 3 khandas. There's the Adi Leela, there's the Madhya Leela, and there's the Antya Leela. So let us see in detail what is the Adi Leela comprising of. Next slide, please.
The Adi Leela, as it says, that it has the first 1 to 12 chapters, they are the invocation. They're talking about, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, he prays for the blessings and all of that. He invokes respect to all the great devotees. 12 chapters dedicated to just glorifying, because he was completely considering himself unqualified. He said, only by the blessings of these great devotees and acharyas can I write. So first 12 chapters just glorifying all the devotees. Then 13, 14, he describes the appearance of Nimai and all his childhood pastimes in Navadvip.
So again, we should understand that, what Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur wrote in 4 volumes of the Chaitanya Bhagavata is covered in 2 chapters in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So when we come to this particular section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we will also refer in detail to Vrindavan Das Thakur's work, so that we can get a detailed insight into the beautiful, the mesmerizing, the childhood pastimes of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu.
And then the next 2 chapters, 15th and 16th, is about education. How Nimai, he receives some life lessons when his brother Vishwambhar leaves his home. His father, Sri Jagannath Mishra, passes away, and then he begins his formal education. Before that, Nimai was not interested in reading anything, in studying anything. He was saying why? He would just keep playing, he would do naughty things, but then he became serious in his studies. And then chapter 17 talks about his transformation, how he received initiation from Srila Ishvara Puri. He's transformed into a devotional ecstasy. And then he started his mission of congregational chanting of the holy names. So this is the 17 chapters. Next slide, please.
So next slide, we come to, the Madhya Leela. How in the Madhya Leela, sorry, I think we missed a slide. Did we miss a slide? Can we go back to the previous slide?
No, you can start from the after transformation.
Okay. Go sorry. Yeah, please go to the next slide. Yeah. Okay. So from there we come to the Madhya Leela, chapters 1 to 6. There we, is talking about the renunciation of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu accepting sannyas. And then again comes the propagation, how Lord Chaitanya, he propagated the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Mahaprabhu moving to Jagannath Puri. And then Madhya Leela, chapter 16 to 18, is talking about how, how Mahaprabhu actually visits Sri Vrindavan Dham, how Lord Chaitanya visits Vrindavan Dham finally. In Madhya Leela chapter 16 to 18 is what we talk about that. And then in Madhya Leela chapters 19 to 25, he talks about, how before returning to Jagannath Puri, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he instructs Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami and instructs them to write the books, of the bhakti, of different bhaktis, literatures, and also to establish the temples of the Goswamis, in Vrindavan, to re-excavate the lost pastime places of Sri Radha and Krishna. So this was his personal instructions to the Goswamis and detailed, what is written in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by these Goswamis, Rupa and Sanatan, is being talked by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in these few chapters of the Madhya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Next slide, please. And then we come to the Antya Leela,
where Antya Leela, the first 13 chapters, talks about how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returns to Jagannath Puri from Vrindavan. And by his example, by his precepts, he teaches the Vaishnava culture and a great appreciation of all these different devotees.
And then again, in the same 1 to 13 Antya Leela chapters, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further establishes the spiritual culture by correcting other devotees. He highlights the different dangers of fault finding and how to actually associate with devotees without any kind of prejudices. How to do that? How to actually have good Vaishnava relationship is also focused here in these first 13 chapters of the Antya Leela.
And then the next 6 chapters, he is talking about how Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu was completely intoxicated. He started doing Nirjan Bhajan in seclusion. His feelings of separation from Krishna started manifesting more and more. And he was completely intoxicated in the love of God. In the final 20th chapter,
Lord Chaitanya, concludes with the 8 prayers of the Shikhshashtakam, which is the only written prayers that Gauranga Mahaprabhu has left us with, which is the focus. It is the summum bonum of all the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, is there in those 8 verses of instruction, which is given in the form of the Shikhshashtakam verses. Next slide, please. So now,
Bhagavad-Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. They are the ABC of Bhagavad-Gita is the ABC of Krishna consciousness. The Srimad Bhagavatam is graduation level of Krishna consciousness, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is postgraduate level, because Bhagavad-Gita describes the words of Krishna. Krishna is saying who I am by his words. Srimad Bhagavatam describes his activities, his actions. Chaitanya Charitamrita goes into the mind of Krishna, why he's speaking what he's speaking, why he's doing what he's doing. All the secrets of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are revealed in the mind of Krishna in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishna himself, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu.
So the content of the Bhagavad Gita is basically the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. What is the basis of our philosophy of Krishna consciousness? And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the basic content is the character and the pastimes of Krishna and his dear devotees, whereas in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the process and practice of devotional service as inculcated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself in the mood of his greatest devotee, Srimati Radharani, is being talked about here in the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
And we can see where Bhagavad Gita ends, Srimad Bhagavatam starts. Where Srimad Bhagavatam ends, Chaitanya Charitamrita starts and takes us to the highest level of love of God. Bhagavad Gita starts with, you are not this body, we are the soul, Krishna's first instruction. And then it ends with, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Srimad Bhagavatam starts with surrender. Starts by saying, Kaita Vetra Paramo, all reject all cheating religion and just surrender to me, the essence of bhakti. And where does it end? It ends with the chanting of the holy names in the 12th canto. Chanting of the holy names is the only means, is the means of destroying all sinful reaction. Where Srimad Bhagavatam ends, Chaitanya Charitamrita starts, where Lord Chaitanya says, I will come to teach the process of chanting myself, which is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. And it ends in complete absorption, day and night, in an ocean of ecstatic love for Krishna.
Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai. Next slide, please. So now let's see the breakdown of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life. Lord Chaitanya, he appeared, he had his manifested pastimes in this world for 48 years. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appeared in the year 1486, and Lord Chaitanya wrapped up his earthly pastimes in this world in the year 1534. So from, his early life, Lord Chaitanya, he was from 0 to 24, as we can say. He was in Navadvip, and Lord Chaitanya led a household life, and which is described in the Adi Leela. Then from 24, Lord Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24. Then from 24 to 48, Lord Chaitanya led his sannyas life. And 24 to 30 years, Lord Chaitanya was traveling and preaching, which is described widely in the Madhya Leela. And then chapters, in the Antya Leela chapters, is when Mahaprabhu was from the age of 30 to 48, when Mahaprabhu just spent time in Jagannath Puri. And within those years of 30 to 48, it has been further divided that from 30 to 36, Lord Chaitanya, he was associating very, very closely with devotees. He was teaching devotees how to associate with each other. And in the last few years, from 36 to 48, for these years, Lord Chaitanya was just immersed in total transcendental absorption and displaying unlimited attraction to Sri Krishna and displaying the internal mood of Srimati Radharani. Next slide, please.
So we can end here and end the presentation. So we talked about Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal, Chaitanya Charitamrita. In fact, Chaitanya Bhagavat, which is the first major biography of Lord Chaitanya, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, his primary focus was to describe the first 24 years, the childhood pastimes in Navadvip in West Bengal from 0 to 24. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami did not focus much on those 0 to 24 years because out of respect for Vrindavan Das Thakur, if anyone wants to know what happened in the childhood pastimes, go to Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat.
In detail, but Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami just touched upon briefly what highlights from those years.
2 to 4 chapters he completed the childhood pastime, but Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, his focus was to narrate the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, which is the Madhya Leela and Antya Leela of his work. And therefore, Chaitanya Charitamrita has 11,000 verses, over 62 chapters. Srimad Bhagavatam has 18,000 verses. And therefore, he used. So, how did he actually get all this information about Madhya Leela, Antya Leela, about his pastimes in Vrindavan, about his pastimes traveling and preaching and all of that? Was Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami with Lord Chaitanya? It is said he interviewed so many different devotees, and of course he was divinely inspired himself because of his purity. That is our faith. From 0 to 24 years, his main reference was from Murari Gupta, who was an incarnation of Hanuman. And he was a physician. He lived very close to where Lord Chaitanya lived. And he described extensive notes on Navadvip's years, culminating in the acceptance of sannyas. Then 24 to 48 years, the second half of his life, was recorded actually in the diary of Srila Sarup Damodar Goswami, who was the personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. So because these were the primary references, but then he went to Vrindavan and also interviewed Loknath Goswami. He interviewed Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Jiva Goswami. And Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, he said, I will tell you a lot of details on Lord Chaitanya's life and pastimes. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was very grateful. Thank you, thank you. When can I come? He said, I'll be happy to share, but I have one condition. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said, yes, whatever condition, I will execute it. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami said, I will tell you the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya on the condition that my name should not be mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita.
So opposite.
Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, what? Then what should I write? What should I say? Who told me all these things? What is my reference? That's all, because I don't know anything. I have to depend on the reference of all the great devotees like yourself who have personally received the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And he said, you can just say a servant of the servant, fallen servant of Lord Chaitanya told me this. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami started crying, no, please, please don't take this from me. The only thing I have is to glorify devotees like yourself. That is my way of purification. Please don't take that away from me. And Raghunath Bhatta Goswami said, all right, that's fine. Then I won't tell you anything. And so Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, with a very heavy heart, because he had to follow the instruction of Lord Nithyananda, he agreed to this proposal and this condition of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. So here we can see how great these devotees were. If today we get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we sometimes may go all out and tell, look, I got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. I will tell you what I have. If some Maharaj comes to us and they just speak to us a little bit, we get so excited and go and tell everyone. It's more of a ego issue. It's more of a sometimes an issue of displaying our prophet adoration and distinction. But here, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, such a great soul, the son of Tapan Mishra, due to whom all these wonderful Vrindavan ecstasies are revealed. He said, no, my name should not be there. So with this mood of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, of the six Goswamis, as the servant of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and our very dear Srila Prabhupada, all the wonderful disciples of Srila Prabhupada, the devotees in ISKCON, we beg for your blessings that we may be able to speak and just repeat for our purification the wonderful, glorious pastimes of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. We personally do not have any qualification. We are only doing this to please all of you, all the devotees, to please Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual masters, so that we can be purified just for our purification. So we beg you, please give us your blessings and mercy so we can repeat these wonderful words from Srila Prabhupada and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. In order to beg for those blessings, we will now chant and sing a wonderful bhajan by Vasudev Ghosh, Gauranga Tumi More.
And right after singing this bhajan, we will open the lines for questions. So please stay with us. It's a very small bhajan. So the translation of this bhajan is like this. O Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, please do not neglect to show me your mercy, making me your very own property. Kindly keep me situated at the reddish soles of your lotus feet.
With the intention of attaining your feet, I have utterly renounced everything. Now I have taken full shelter of your soothing lotus feet.
Whether I am related to this family lineage or that family lineage, I have completely abandoned everything. I beg you to mercifully keep me at your lotus feet, calling me your own.
Vasudev Ghosh says, since I have tightly grasped hold of your feet, please keep me here by always bestowing their soothing shade. Gauranga, Dayana Chari, Gauranga, Dayana Chari, Apano Kariya Ranga, Apana Kariya Ranga, Chanani Rani, Gauranga, Dayana Chari, Dayana Chari, Tomara Charanani, Savartiyano, Tomara Charanani, Savartiyano, Shitala Charanaya, Shitala Charanaya, Sharanaya, Gauranga, Dayana Chari, Dayana Chari, Ekure Dino Niranjani, Ekure Dino Niranjani, Raki O Charanamare, Raki O Charanamare, Apana Gauranga, Dayana Chari, Gauranga, Dayana Chari, Vasudeva Goshabare, Charane Dhariya, Vasudeva Goshabare, Charane Dhariya, Kripa Kore Rakho Mare, Kripa Kore Rakho Mare, Jaya Gauranga, Dayana Chari, Gauranga, Dayana Chari,
Leela Chari.
Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki. So
Hare
before we open the
Krishna.
line for questions, let's discuss the quiz for today. And today's quiz questions are: first, who are the authors of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and Chaitanya Mangal?
Second, who is Meenaketan Ramdas and why was he upset with Gunarnava Mishra?
Third, how did Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami get the mercy of Lord Nithyananda?
Fourth, how old was Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami when he wrote Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Fifth, who narrated the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and on what condition?
Hari Hari Bol. We thank Divyangi and Prem Vikas Prabhu for these wonderful questions. Thank you all so much. Now let's open up the lines for your comments and your questions. We have
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Tulasi.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Beta. Hare Krishna Tulasi.
I liked your slide and I liked your class and your bhajan.
Thank you, Bacha. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the wonderful class. I have one question. So, Mataji, you mentioned, right, because Prabhupada has translated Chaitanya Chaitamrita. So, I mean, I haven't read Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, but would you tell us, like, is it in Bengali and why did Prabhupada chose to translate Chaitanya Chaitamrita over,
Chaitanya Bhagavat.
yeah.
Yeah, because Chaitanya Charitamrita is the complete life of Lord Chaitanya. You see, Chaitanya Bhagavat is only talking about the childhood pastimes. It's not a complete treatise. So that is the reason why Srila Prabhupada chose to first finish Chaitanya Charitamrita.
And Mataji, thank you, Mataji. And Chaitanya Bhagavat is also in Bengali because I haven't seen the book as well, like Chaitanya Bhagavat.
It is translated into English now.
By disciples of Prabhupada.
It's already been translated. Okay, nice.
The pictures that
Very nice Chaitamrita class Mataji.
Thank you, Vacha. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Padmalakshmi. Hare Krishna. Yes,
Hare Krishna.
Garima. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Prabhuji, Dandre, Pranam, all glories to Sri Prabhupada and Gurudev. I really missed you both for so long. I thought it was like 1 year apart.
Oh,
It was.
It was actually 1 year.
Because we 2020 to 2021.
Yeah, I really love the bhajan and the meaning also, and I also love the stories and how sincere all the devotees were of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No, I don't have any questions today, but I drew this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing.
Oh, that's so
Very
cute.
good.
Little Nima is so cute. So nice. Thank you, Beta. And we missed you so much.
And Krishna is showing his paper.
Oh,
This
wow, Krishna. So nice. That's such a cute Krishna. So beautiful.
And he's showing Matsya and the Lotus.
Hari Bol. Very nice, Krishna. Very
And
nice.
then a
Okay.
Very
Hare
nice.
Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji,
Hari
Dandre
Bol,
Pranam.
Champaka. Hari Bol.
Please accept my humble obeisances. Very happy to see you both.
Yeah,
We've been missing you long time, and we were looking forward to attend these classes. Thank you so much for Nectarian class. We are very grateful to you to take us to a new journey where we have not been. So we are eagerly looking forward every day Thank you so much. I
Okay.
have just one question. In the beginning, like you were mentioning how Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami got the mercy from Nithyananda Prabhu. So I was wondering, was he associate of devotees, or like how did he come in contact with Nithyananda Prabhu? How did Nithyananda Prabhu became his spiritual master, or how the beginning part works, like how it happened?
So there is very little known about Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Who was he, how he came, but I think Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur tells a little bit about his beginnings and like that. But the reason Lord Nityananda chose him was because he defended Lord Nityananda's associate Minaketana Ramdas. And so Lord Nityananda was pleased with him and came in his dream. Lord Nityananda had left this world by that time. But he then came in Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's dream and instructed him to write Chaitanya Charitamrita. And that was the sole reason that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, at the age of 90 years, with his senses not so strong, still he was able to complete this 11,000 verses treatise.
Okay, Prabhu, I understand. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
Mata.
Thank
So
you.
if we serve the devotees of Lord Nityananda, he is very pleased. And he'll immediately give his mercy, engage us in his services. That's the essence. He was not like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was not like a great leader at that time. He was just a very simple devotee. No, he was just, he would arrange programs, he would do things just like someone who was not very well known in the devotee community also, but he was always in a mood of service. And from there, Lord Nityananda chose him.
So, Prabhu, how do we hold on to the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu? Like, what should be our mood and lesson from this beginning?
Once was Jananivas Prabhu, he mentioned to us, he said, Lord Nityananda, he is actually, because Lord Chaitanya's instruction is, Akalai Maliyami Kotopal Bilaivo. He says that I am the only gardener, and how many fruits can I alone distribute? So Lord Nityananda's sole focus is to actually execute this order of Lord Chaitanya. And Jananivas Prabhu was telling us that if any devotee, they have a serious desire to preach, then why will Lord Nityananda not arrange for that? So if we just hold on to Lord Nityananda's lotus feet, through the lotus feet of our spiritual masters, just by that act and a desire to just, be a humble instrument in the hands of our spiritual masters, in the hands of Srila Prabhupada, to just try to, whatever we have, try to give to others as much as we can. Then we get the mercy of God. He just pours his mercy. That is the secret.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Wonderful to see you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Devahuti Mataji.
Devahuti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much. This is so wonderful class. Like it was like I was always wondering, what is in the Chaitanya Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Like we know about Chaitanya Charitamrita, but not the Chaitanya Mangal and all this. But you said so nicely. Like it just can't imagine. Thank you so much. I have one request, Mataji and Prabhuji. If possible, can I like have a darshan of that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again? Like, I feel like to have that darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is again and again that you show in the beginning. It's you said it's kind of the original picture of.
Yes. We will be sharing the PPT in the group. You are part of the WhatsApp group, right?
Yes, Mataji.
So you will get that.
You will get
Okay.
the PDF, which will be shared in the WhatsApp group. And when you open it, you can see in the second slide, you will be able to see it yourself.
Okay.
You will have it with you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, I'm looking forward for these classes now onwards. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much. Hare Krishna. Next, Bhakti Priya.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam,
Nanda Pranam. Beta.
Nithyananda, and all this to Srila Prabhupada.
Right.
Mataji, I was missing you and I was missing your classes. I was so sad without you, and I was missing the wonderful classes also. Again, you started it, and I was so excited when you are going to start regular classes, and especially Caitanya Charitamrita. Thank you for starting it, and today the session was so amazing and remarkable.
Thank you, Priya. You are so sweet. We missed you too, Bacha. We missed you very much. Thank you, Beta.
And Mataji, I like to show some drawings that I did.
Okay.
Wait, Mataji, I will remove my. Yes, Mataji, can you see?
Oh, yes, yes. Wow, Bhakti Priya, so pretty.
I have drawn this Caitanya Mahaprabhu, like he's in ecstasy dancing.
Jai. Very beautiful features, Bhakti Priya. Very beautiful, Beta. Very beautiful.
Thank you, Mataji. And I have drawn one picture of Radharani.
Oh, wow. This looks like the original one, the photograph.
Yes,
So
Mataji.
nice.
Yeah,
Jai. Beautiful, Priya. Very nice. Very, very nice.
This is the first starting of Chaitanya Charitamrita, so I have drawn this picture. Thank you, Mataji and Prabhuji. I'm very
Thank
grateful.
you, Beta. Thank you so much, Bhakti Priya. Hare Krishna, Kirti.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all
Hare
glories to
Krishna.
Mahaprabhu and Gauranga. I missed you both so much during
Oh, we missed you too, Beta. We missed you too.
break, and I'm really excited for the Chaitanya Charitamrita classes that are coming. And I wanted to say that I really liked today's sessions and all the slides because they were so in depth, and it basically showed what we were gonna do, but in a practical way. So I really like that. So I have one quick question. So all these scriptures and the shastras that we're learning now, so like people from like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when people were next to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, those people already went back home, back to Godhead. But how did they know these stories, and how did they pass them along? If the person, like, how did they pass around like the chain? Because the person who was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is still not there right now. He's back home, back to Godhead. How do we know the exact story, and how is it passed down?
So, as we said, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he interviewed Murari Gupta, who was the physician in Navadvip, and he told him the pastimes. And so he wrote down these things, he compiled them. And then from 24 to 48 years, he asked Swarup Damodar, who had his own, Swarup Damodar Goswami, who had his own diary. And he was a personal secretary of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's how we have the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, that he wrote down all of that. And then it's passed down through disciplic succession. If you see in the page number 32 of Bhagavad-Gita, Srila Prabhupada has given all the disciplic succession. So it's passing down from disciplic succession. The spiritual master shares with the disciple, and the disciple applies those principles, as well as he reads that and he realizes it, and then he then passes on to his disciple, who realizes it and then passed on. And in this way it's coming down. And then in between, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur came and he revived this, all of these literatures again. There were very few people who started knowing about it, but then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur again revived it. and he sent the first English book to McGraw-Hill University in Canada. So this was in mid 1800s, Life and Precepts of Lord Chaitanya. And so that's how it's coming forth, through the disciplic succession.
I understand, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji, Prabhuji, for a beautiful session. I look forward to all of the sessions coming up. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Rita. We missed you too. Hari Bol. Anjali Mataji?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Bol Mataji, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Such a great initiative, and we're feeling so blessed that Chaitanya Charitamrita classes have begun. Just a minute, Mataji. Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask Mataji and Prabhuji, can we share which chapters are we doing, like which chapters we are carrying this synopsis from?
Sure. From tomorrow, we will be able to, when we will send out the Zoom links, you will have the chapter details.
Okay.
So you want it one day before?
No problem. Either ways, ma'am.
Yeah. So we will send out the details. Yes.
Okay. All right, Mataji. Thank you
where
so
we
much.
are thinking, because, as we said, it will be a compilation. It will be a culmination of our presentations, will be a culmination from these three books, Chaitanya Mangala, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So all these three combined is what we're going to present, because tomorrow, because there is a prelude to Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is there in Chaitanya Mangala. It's not there in Chaitanya Bhagavat, it's not there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we will start with Chaitanya Mangala, with that prelude. And then we will move on to Chaitanya. So we are going to combine these three literatures and try to give, so that all of us get the opportunity of getting the entire life of Lord Chaitanya in one place, combining all these three scriptures.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna. Shamala?
Hare Krishna, Mataji and Prabhuji, please accept my humble and pranams. Jai Shri Prabhupada, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Hi, Hare Krishna.
Wish you a very happy New Year, Mataji and
Happy
Prabhuji.
New Year. Happy New Year. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for giving your association again. We are very, very happy to see you again and have your association. And and it's a nectar. And I remember you gave the Chaitanya pastime, childhood pastimes, like I think 2 years back or 1 year back. I didn't remember, but still it is there in my mind, like how so sweetly you explain that. It is all the time, like it is, I can able to recollect, like the way that you explain it. It was so sweet. And I'm really looking forward for this nectar for the whole. And also I didn't know that this is the picture that you shared. Yeah, actually I got it from Lokesh Sunday School. I don't know this is the original picture of Mahaprabhu. I feel so happy that somehow I got that mercy to have him. So, thank you so much, Mataji. I have one question.
Yes.
This Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami said that do not tell my name that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, but just a curiosity, like then how he came to know that he gave this information to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami.
So he did not mention it, but he told other devotees about it. So that's how it is coming down.
Okay, thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Keshavi?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances and your lotus feet. I'm so excited and so happy because I'm waiting for Chaitanya Charitamritam. I wanted to read Chaitanya Charitamritam. I have started so many times, but I couldn't read because I'm not qualified to read. So I started 2 times, but I never,
completed at least 2 chapters or 1 chapter also. I was in the beginning stage only. So I thought maybe I'm not qualified. I will wait for my done. But because of your both mercy today, we are able to hear Chaitanya Charitamritam. And I don't know the difference between Chaitanya Bhagavatam and Charitamritam also. But today I came to know, and I have written all the notes. I have taken the pictures also. So beautifully you organized and clearly you explained each and everything. In future also we can remember and we can also explain to others. It's really hard work, and how much time you're spending on this to explain us. It's really koti koti pranam to you both, the Lotus feet. Thank you for, we are so fortunate to have Shiksha Gurus like you, both Mataji and Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the Chaitanya Charitamritam. Please pray that, bless us, that we should hear very attentively, and whatever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is preaching, we have to follow in our life. Nithyananda Mahaprabhu preachings also. And Mataji, I have one question, Prabhuji. Like, what is consciousness? I know the consciousness meaning, but just I want to listen again. What is exactly consciousness? And Guru Maharaj told me, like we have to have a right consciousness. What is that right consciousness we need to have? Hare Krishna.
Great. A very nice question. Consciousness is the symptom of the soul, in one sense. Just like there is the sunlight is the symptom of the sun. If there is no sunlight, then we know that there is no sun. Similarly, consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Consciousness comes from the soul. And when we say that we have to have the right consciousness, it means we have to have the right attitude, meaning we have to be in the mood of a service attitude. An attitude, a consciousness, just like Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami had, that I am very fallen soul. And he said that I am worse than the worm in stool. Now, it's not like he was just acting that way. He actually believed that I'm not better than anyone else. We should not think that I'm better than other person. Even if someone is a drunkard, or even if someone is like not following the principles, still we should not think we are better than that person. We should think we are more fortunate than that person because I received the mercy. But I did not receive the mercy because I have something in me. I received mercy because I don't deserve it. And that's why I was given a mercy. So we should, right consciousness means to make sure to understand that I'm not better than anyone, but I will serve. I will have an attitude of service. I will focus on being grateful to Krishna for things that are given to me. And that is the attitude of gratitude. That is the right consciousness. Then whatever we hear in that consciousness, it'll go to the soul directly through the conscious, because consciousness is the source of consciousness, is the soul. So if we have the right consciousness, we can receive all these instructions and it will hit the soul directly. Otherwise, if the sunlight, for example, is coming, and if it is stopped by doors and windows, and we close all the doors and windows, the sunlight will not be able to reach fully. The consciousness is interrupted, is corrupted. The soul is the sunlight is corrupted. In the same way, if we don't have the right consciousness, that soul's consciousness will be corrupted. That's what it means to have the right consciousness, so that we can receive instructions which goes directly to the soul.
Also, that the right consciousness means that what is, our original nature? What is the nature of the soul? Nature of the soul is what is the constitutional position of the soul? The dharma of the soul is eternal, part and parcel of Krishna, eternal servant of Krishna. That is the dharma. Just like what is the dharma of a chili, green chili, is to be spicy. The dharma of sunlight is to give heat and light. If that doesn't happen, then we say, oh, then you take a bite of the chili. If it is not spicy, then you say, hey, what kind of chili is this? You throw that chili away because it has lost its dharma. It doesn't have its dharma. So if we as living entities, as the soul, if we are not having the proper proper dharma, which is our dharma is jivere swarupa hoy Krishna Nityadas. That is our eternal constitutional position. That is our eternal occupation as a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. So when we are acting on that platform, according to that dharma, then we are in the right consciousness. That is right consciousness. Hope this answers your question, Keshavi.
Wow, Mataji and Prabhuji, you have explained so nicely actually. Actually, I want to share something. Last 2 days ago, I got a dream. In my dream, Guru Maharaj was there and so many other devotees were there. But Guru Maharaj was showering mercy so many on other devotees. So I was feeling so bad and I was sitting and I was watching. Then when Guru Maharaj was passing, I was asking him, Guru Maharaj, you are giving so much mercy to everyone, but I'm not getting mercy, and I was crying. Then he told that to me, so I didn't understood that one properly. So, but today I understood. Please bless me. Whatever Guru Maharaj told me that I have to be in that right mood. Please, I need your both blessings so that I can be in that right consciousness. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji and Prabhuji.
Thank you so much for sharing that sweet dream. Thank you, Keshavi. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anju Mataji, Anjudi, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Dandavat
Di.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Like Garima said, now 1 year. Oh my God, we miss you so much. Both of you, and it was so nice to see you again so well, color coordinated. And I'm also color coordinated with you. Wow.
Yes, we are.
This is because
And
Lord Caitanya was yellow or was golden, and Lord
okay.
Nithyananda is said to be of a copper hue. So that's why it's red and yellow.
That's why we thought of this colors today.
Okay. And I was waiting for these like I don't know anything. I know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very close. I have grown up seeing. I remember it. My grandmother used to take me, and I have seen those leelas in Mathura. They used to have, but then I think so as a kid, but I have forgotten everything. But just I know, okay, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Lord and Krishna and Radha together. And that's what she told me. And I'm so looking forward. I think so all the devotees are saying the same thing. We are looking forward for these classes and enhance our knowledge, and बस भगवान की कृपा बनी रहे कि और आप लोग का साथ. And I hope Guru Maharaj is feeling much better in Mayapur.
Yes,
And
by all of
right now
prayers, he is doing much better. Thank you.
he's doing much better. And by God's grace and all, I'm just in Chennai and then just visiting and meeting people, and they're just singing your glories, and, Bhaviji, and they most of people knows you so well, and we are just talking about you. And I said, now you will be having too many of hiccups, like we are
I
just
have
talking.
been actually. I have been.
And they said, oh, how you know her? I said, I don't know how I know her. It's only by Krishna's grace and thing. Like we just got associated. And I just wanted, actually, I came over here. My sister, my cousin sister, she has just 3-4 months back, she lost her husband all of a sudden. And she's just 6 months younger to me and very close to my heart. And yesterday I was with her for the full day, and her mother is all like mother-in-law also there, like Jiaji's mother, and she's 75 years old. And uh, I was acting very okay, I don't know. I think so the ego comes or hits us or something like that. And I was thinking, I'll go over there, I'll meet her, and maybe I will just talk to her or something. But I was speechless. I just couldn't talk to her. And like, and I, we say like we have studied in Bhagavad Gita, just try to stay in all the Krishna says, try to stay in all the situations calm, poised, everything. It should not, but I don't know, it's not happening. Could you just explain? You feel, I know the knowledge is there, but it doesn't happen. Why it doesn't happen?
You see, the thing is that Arjuna, after he heard the entire Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also started fighting. He said to Krishna, Karishye vachanam tava, Krishna, I will do what you have told me to do. I am convinced. I am completely convinced of what you said, Krishna. And I will do what you have told me to do. Krishna was told this by Arjuna at the end of the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna was completely convinced. And then he started fighting. And then the most unfortunate event of Abhimanyu, he was just 18-year-old boy. 18 or 16. I think maybe 16-year-old. Yeah, he was 16-year-old boy. Just a 16-year-old boy. He was killed. Ghastly way. All the, big Maharathis, they surrounded Abhimanyu. And, a lone kid, one child. And that too without any weapons or anything. And they unjustifiedly, they just all attacked him together. They killed him. Which was totally against dharma. The dharma of the battle, it was totally against everything, all the principles. They defied everything. And the Kauravas killed him so unjustifiably. And then when Arjuna returned to the camp that night, Abhimanyu's body was there. And Arjuna was devastated. He was crying hysterically. He was crying. And he was in so much pain. His heart was crying. His heart was bleeding, in fact. He was crying. Uncontrollably, he was crying. So does that mean that Arjuna is not a perfect disciple of the Bhagavad Gita? He heard Bhagavad Gita from Krishna just 2-3 days ago, and he's crying. He should remember Vasamsi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya Navani Grinati Naro Parani Tatha Sharirani Vihaya Jirnani Anyani Samyati Navani. He should have remembered that, oh, this is not my child. The soul has now moved on to another body. So he should have remembered that. Why did he Arjuna cry? But then Srila Prabhupada describes, so beautifully Srila Prabhupada describes this. He says that Arjuna is a perfect disciple of the Bhagavad Gita. Because although there was such a setback in his life, but Arjuna did not question Krishna. That Krishna, I am listening to you. I am following your instructions. Then why did you do this to me? Why? How can you take my son away? So unjustifyingly? So much in an adharma way? How can you take my son away? Arjuna did not question Krishna. He did not have any doubt that, he did not come and say to Krishna that, Krishna, why? Why are you doing this to me? I am following what you told me to do. And look what happened to me. Why should I have to do this? Why am I doing this? Arjuna never had that kind of a, attitude towards Krishna. Rather, he even resolved even more firmly to fight the next day, to carry out the instructions of Krishna. And he made the promise that tomorrow, before sundown, I'm going to behead Jayadratha. I'm going to kill him. So, Prabhupada explains that Arjuna, his discharge of his duty was not apprehended by this unfortunate incident that happened in his life. And that is what makes Arjuna the perfect disciple of the Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada explains that a devotee doesn't mean that they're going to be heartless, that they're going to be emotionless. One time there was, Srila Prabhupada was visiting one particular city and he was leaving that particular city and going to another city, and devotees were crying, disciples were crying, Prabhupada's leaving from there. And then there was one devotee, he was like, oh, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. And Prabhupada just looked at him and he commented that that's a very superficial devotee, that when the spiritual master is leaving, there has to be some kind of separation. Otherwise, it's very superficial. So, but that's, when we are, undergoing that kind of an attitude also, but that doesn't stop us from surrendering to Krishna. That doesn't stop us from continuing our service to Krishna. Rather, during difficult times, our service to Krishna, our dependence upon Krishna increases multifold. That is the test. That we don't question Krishna, that Krishna, how could you do this to us? Why did you do this to us, Krishna? We never question that. But rather we tell Krishna that, Krishna, okay, you have put us in this condition. So this is your mercy, Krishna, and that you are giving us an opportunity to surrender more to you. It was because of this situation that happened with our spiritual master and, our God brothers, that it gave us a chance to chant more, to take shelter of Krishna more. That's how we must be grateful to Krishna. So not having any kind of emotions, not having any kind of feelings, that's not the goal of a devotee. That's not what describes us as a devotee.
In fact, a devotee's heart, when we chant, it becomes much, much more softer. So they become more sensitive to these emotions, and they become more sensitive to others' sufferings, and that affects them. And of course, when they suffer, for their own suffering, they depend on Krishna. But when others suffer, they become very emotional. That's what Srila Prabhupada would think as well. Para dukha dukhi. But the test of a devotee is not whether he cries or he laughs or he's happy in good things or not, and thinks he's crying or not. The test of a devotee is, does he increase his dependence on Krishna? Does he continue his service? Does he continue chanting? In our context, do we improve the quality of our chanting as a result of this? Or have we given up chanting, thinking, oh, this person died, so I have lost my faith in God, or I've lost my faith in Krishna? Or are we saying, no, I should take more shelter of Krishna because this is the nature of the material world? So how we react decides how we react in taking Krishna's shelter or not. That decides whether we are devotee, not whether we are crying or laughing or overcome by emotions.
So we hope this answers your question, Dee.
Yeah, so beautifully explained. So at night also, I just could not sleep after that thing. And at 2:30, I just got up and I just started chanting. So I said, like I said, let me just start chanting. And so I just started doing my
Pray for them.
malas again.
Yeah, pray for them, and
Yeah.
they will receive the mercy of Krishna somehow or the other coming through you.
In fact, yeah, they are also from Mathura, so like huge devotees of Krishna. Even Jiaji's name was Murari. And like, and just all of a sudden, like, within 12 hours, like in the morning, a night her head was aching. In the morning, he was no more. So it was just a shock, very big shock to the full family. Even my sister also, we're just trying, even the children. So after meeting everybody, I was thinking I will put a brave front or something like that and this. And then I was carried away more than the others.
Yes.
And I was just, so it was so beautifully you explained. So as you, yeah, Krishna's mercy and grace has to be always there, and we have to be more independent on him. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So yes, the Chaitanya Charitamrita will be available on YouTube. It is being simultaneously streamed on YouTube as well as on Facebook. And the recordings will be available in the playlist in YouTube as well. And there's a question from Champakalata that if we want to read Chaitanya Charitamrita, then should we read before or after the lecture? Whatever you feel best, because as we said, we are going to be combining the three literatures, so maybe after would be a good thing, because it'll help you grasp it better. Once you hear it, then it'll help you grasp it better, so then the entire next day, before the start of the next session, you can read those few chapters and just get the summary essence. That way, that will help in better understanding. Once you hear first and then you read, that will help you in better understanding. So hope this answers your question. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji. Haribol.
Danvat Pranam. Hope everything is good. I know you had some health leg problem. Is that okay, Mataji? You feeling better, Mataji? Okay, very nice, Mataji. Mataji, I had a question. Like, we read Bhagavad-Gita, Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, which is, I know they all are very nectarian, but which should we give the first preference? Like, which? So, I know, like,
Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita?
yes.
Well, it says Bhagavad Gita is the beginning. So we should start with Bhagavad Gita, the words of Krishna, then the activities of Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then Chaitanya Charitamrita. That is the postgraduate study. So that's the recommended way. Some devotees, they read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and CC simultaneously, which means they'll read minimum one verse of Gita every day, one verse of Bhagavatam, and one verse of CC every day.
And Prabhu does that. He does that every single day, reading one verse from the Bhagavad Gita, one verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and one verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita every single day, however busy he is.
Minimum, sometimes more also we can read. Then that way, if there is something very philosophical going on in Bhagavatam, then in Chaitanya Charitamrita, some nectarian stories going on, and in Bhagavad Gita, some other realizations. So we can even read simultaneously. In fact, when Srila Prabhupada was bringing his books out in the 1970s, sometimes Canto 8 would come out, sometimes Canto 4 would come out, and then suddenly Chaitanya Charitamrita came out. Then, so different cantos would come out at different times, and devotees would read Srila Prabhupada. As long as we are reading with Srila Prabhupada's purports, we are in safe hands, whichever way we go. But if you really want to do analytical study, Bhagavad Gita, then Bhagavatam, then CC, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you can also read them simultaneously, little each of them every day, with Srila Prabhupada's purports. So that'll definitely help. The way to read Srila Prabhupada's books or these scriptures that many devotees do is that they first read just the translations of the chapter. So then we get a overview of what is the message in this chapter. What is Krishna trying to say? What is Lord Chaitanya trying to say? What is Srimad Bhagavatam trying to say in that chapter? So we get just a synopsis. Then we go back and then start reading along with the purport. So then we know why Prabhupada is writing this particular thing, because something else is going to come later. We get a little more insights into Srila Prabhupada's purports. It's a little longer way of study, but it stays with us much longer.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Any other questions?
If not, we can end here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo.
Thank you, Surid and Spurti. Thank you for your beautiful comment. And we thank everyone for all your beautiful and wonderful comments of encouragement. We look forward to seeing all of you again tomorrow. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.